What's up, everybody? I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And today we've got a new Black Series blunder for you. This one is an infamous one.
It is.
I mean, you can tell by the thumbnail, you already knew this was coming, but today's blunder is none other than the Walmart exclusive Balin Skull Mercenary.
Woohoo! Yeah.
One of the scummiest Black Series releases of all time. And
very frustrating.
And I genuinely do not have any hyperbole behind that. It is one of the most frustrating, disappointing, just general poor release.
Yeah.
So,
no, 100%.
Let's break it down a little bit, Justin. Before we jump into what exactly is wrong with this figure, hit me with that bio, please, because now Balin was upgraded from a generic Ahsoka bio.
True.
Now he's got his own bio.
Allied to former magistrate of Caladan, Morgan Elsbeth, after the fall of the Empire, Balin Skull is a shrewd, lightsaber-wielding mercenary for hire, overseeing his apprentice Shin Hati. Nate, how much did you pay for this, bro?
I paid $8.81 for it. only a few short months after its initial release. So let's just open it, because there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on with this guy.
First things first, Nate. Let's recap the things that everyone already knows. We've talked about it a million times. The scale is off on Balin. Mm-hmm. All right. Everyone knows it. Everyone talks about it, so we don't have to talk about it too much. But bro is short.
Yeah. He's a little bit of a short king.
Like, absurdly short.
Yeah. And honestly, almost everything we say in this blunder for Balin, you can apply that to Shin Hati as well.
Yeah.
We most likely will not do a separate banger on her, because the issues that plague Balin are the issues that plague her.
Yeah.
And I don't have her Arcana.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever re-release.
Because it's not $8.
Right. It's not $8. The only reason I bought this figure was because it was $8, and I was like, $8.81 for the cloak. Sure.
Yeah.
And of course, it would be a fun little blunder
of course.
to make.
Of course. Because everyone is always giving this figure a hard time. Deservedly so, though. So the scale is off. It is too short, and Shin is too tall. But Balin is very tall, and he has a very menacing, hulking presence in the series.
That's right.
The likeness, terrible, Nate. One of the worst photoreal applications in the line.
I think it makes it even worse, considering the untimely passing of Ray Stevenson.
Yeah. I mean, it's insult to injury, if you will.
Yeah.
It looks nothing like him. I think him and Shin, easily two of the worst photoreal applications in the entire line. The lightsaber, they randomly gave him like an elongated lightsaber. It's also very comical, kind of like a Looney Tune. Like, I just think of the hammer.
Yeah.
Like some Looney Tunes, like Three Stooges type shit going on with this figure.
Yeah.
You take it, Nate. You take it.
So just to build off of what you were saying, the deco on the figure is, of course, embarrassing as well. It almost looks like a credit collection figure.
Yeah.
With the way that it appears with the very vibrant bluish green weathering.
Right. You said this on the Black Series Awards. It almost looks like they thought it was armor.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's like cloth.
Yeah, because to me, what this looks like is they thought it was armor, so they put like a little oxidized effect on it. You know? Like, that's what they were aiming for, but you watch the show, it's not armor, it's cloth. I mean, maybe the shoulder pads, you could have some leeway, but it is slapped smack dab right on that chest piece. And just look at any old picture of Balin that you can find. It's not green.
I was going to say, it is there.
It's
like
there.
That coloration is there, but it is much more subtle in live action. It is over-exaggerated on the figure, for sure.
Over-exaggerated putting it nicely.
Yeah, true.
You're being polite.
Sure. It's exaggerated. So the scale is completely off. I think that's easily the worst thing.
Yeah.
The photoreal application is horrible. I know some Black Series collectors are huffing that copium when it comes to these figures, but just no. It's okay to admit when something is pretty bad, and that's not a good likeness to Ray Stevenson at all.
Mm-hmm.
The elongated, comically long lightsaber, horrible. The coloring on the figure, whatever sort of weathering, oxidization effect they're going for is bad.
Mm-hmm.
But Nate, now we have a cloak. How are you feeling about that cloak?
So the cloak is actually not bad. I think they did a decent job with the hood. It lays pretty well.
All right.
You know,
See, we're fair.
That's
we're
not
fair.
bad. I also, you know what? Shout out to this random little bit of paint detail too around the hood.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's just a minor gray stripe, but it's better than nothing.
It's a gray stripe.
It's a gray stripe, but
It's not so much about the quality of the cloak itself. It's more so the nature in which this
Right.
figure was released. Because, of course, in 2024, we had Balin and Shin come out earlier in the year. And then a few months later, we got these releases with the soft goods cloak that absolutely positively should have been included in the original releases. I'm not a fan
Yes.
of doing the whole trick thing that they try to do sometimes, where they release one version of a figure and then a few months later the version that everyone wanted and what it should have been in the first place comes out, and it's a straight up attempt to get people to buy the figure twice, because we're not talking 2 years, we're talking 2 months,
yeah.
a few months at the most.
I think that's, again, one of the major issues is that the fact that we didn't know this figure was coming. If they would have announced the standard edition of Balin and Shin and said, hey, you know, these are the versions you can get right now, but in a few months or in a year, they should have waited longer, just in general, to drop these figures. But for whatever reason, only a few short months later, they went, oh, yeah, by the way, here's the version that you wanted with the cloak. Because we see Balin and Shin in cloak the first seconds they are on screen.
Right, and I hope they've learned their lesson from this, because we did have the Darth Maul release. All 3 iterations of the Darth Maul were made, like, publicly known. So people could pick and choose which version. Did you want the one that comes with the blood fin that has the soft goods? Do you want the one that's available in the 3-pack that has the soft goods? Or do you just want the single release? At the very least, every iteration was, like, publicly known.
Yeah.
So people could make that choice. This time around, it's like everyone who wants the characters is going to buy the initial offering, because it's like, who knows? Maybe they won't ever do these again.
Well, and typically in the case for the Black Series, they generally didn't do this stuff.
Right. Exactly.
This was something that they didn't do. You would see it sometimes in Marvel or maybe some of the other Hasbro lines, but you rarely ever saw it in
there was
the Black
like an
Series.
Ahsoka they did that with, but you are right. It is actually pretty rare if you actually stop and think about it. The articulation on this figure is actually pretty decent.
Oh, yeah.
I like the ball jointed wrists. Like, the engineering behind the sculpt is actually good, but everything else makes it, like, seriously one of the most disappointing Black Series figures in recent memory. Obviously, you can do the Third Sister Inquisitor thigh swap. You can do the cubic 3D print blades, the corrected blades. Although you did appear to get like the orange saber that Hasbro attempted. I know the cubic 3D print one is better, but I think you did at least get like the lighter shade of red, the more orangish one.
I think so too, but it's still like when you compare it to the cubic print one, you're like, okay, this still really isn't orange.
Right.
It's still basically red. It's light, like opaque red, I guess. But I really don't know what else to say other than I'm glad at least it seems like Hasbro has fixed this issue already with letting consumers know their options. That's really the major issue with this release of Balin and Shin is if they would have just told us that there was going to be cloaked versions coming down the road, everything would have been fine. But it's the deception with what we know about action figure manufacturing, things that the Black Series team has said out of their own mouths, that it basically takes about 18 months to produce a figure.
Right.
So you know without a shadow of a doubt,
they planned it.
The original Balin and the Balin with a cloak were basically being produced at the same exact time.
Yep. And it's just, I think that's what stings the most, is because I know they're a business, I know they're out to make money, but when something is this on the nose about these sorts of deceptive practices, like when it's that blatantly obvious that this was on purpose, that's when it really stings.
Yeah.
So, and it really deserves to be called out and publicly shamed on the internet, where everyone can share their opinions.
That's true.
So what do you guys think? Do you like this figure? Because I see a few of you guys in the Discord who are saying, I think Balin isn't that bad, guys.
Wafflers. Wafflers everywhere.
The engineering behind the sculpt, I can get behind. But
sure.
Everything else just the negatives heavily outweigh any of the positives for me.
Absolutely. And I hope it sends Hasbro a clear message with that $8.81 clearance price that we don't want this shit. Give us our choices. If you want to do 2 separate versions, that's fine. Let us know about it so we can make the decision as a consumer. Dagon Jarrah, perfect example.
Yep.
They announced the single release. A couple weeks later, they said, well, here's a 2-pack, and it's got the Force arm.
Yeah, and at the very least, people could cancel their pre-orders and get the version they want.
Yep. Instead, we already had Balin in hand, and then they were like, oh, hey, by the way, here's the version you wanted, which is why now, as a little bit of a snowball effect, Justin and I are sitting here today without figures like Ahsoka Peridia, because we're just fully anticipating that there's going to be a white cloaked version at some point.
It sets a precedent.
It does. And that precedent gets set, and then what you have is collectors, diehard collectors, like Justin and I, waiting to buy figures to see if there's going to be a better version in a few months. And I don't think that's a very good idea.
Not a good idea. It almost seems like this is the replacement of carbonized credit collection, archive to a degree.
Yeah.
Is they've recently been doing here's a figure that's held hostage in a 2-pack. So we've kind of been having some mid multi-packs and then some figures like this. I'm like, is this like the new sort of gimmicky, like high reuse method?
They definitely seem to be taking a page out of McFarlane's playbook, where a lot of times it'll be like, this version is just the same figure but with a different head.
Yeah.
Or, different accessories. But it's the same figure, same paint, same everything. It's just like, now the Flash is grinning instead of a blank expression on his face. Seems like they're going that method, which again, I will openly say, like, it's preferable to credit collection, carbonized, blah, 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 because it falls into the category of at least it's from something.
True. You just got to be a little more careful as a consumer.
And we need that heads up.
Yeah.
We need to know when we're going to have those options, because I'd have to assume it worked out pretty well for Darth Maul. Bloodfin sold pretty well.
Is it true?
The single release, I'm sure, is selling just fine.
Oh, yeah.
The 3-pack, tons of people bought the 3-pack.
Right.
So I think it just goes to show you that give consumers a little bit of heads up. Might just buy the figures. Might just buy them twice. Might just buy them 3 times. There are people out there that bought that Phantom Menace Maul 3 times.
I got 2, so I have 3. I have all 3.
You do have all 3.
Because the 3-pack got gifted to me, but I do own all 3. Wow.
Exactly. So, granted, you didn't pay for the 3-pack, but still, you went out of your way to purchase 2 of those malls. I purchased 2 of those malls, and I would do it for characters that I deem important. But yeah, it's just all about giving us a heads up. Don't do this again. It seems like they're not going to do it again.
Right.
Because
they're like the most hated figures of 2024, without a doubt. Like, Balin won, most disappointing figure for TBS Awards by a landslide. So.
Oh, yeah. I think Balin and Shin are, without a doubt, the most disappointing figures of last year, and easily creep into the top 10, top 5 of just bad Black Series figures.
Yeah, right up there with Grievous and
they're just like figures that are you just know that they were this close.
Yep.
Director Krennic, they're this close.
Nope. Couldn't have said it better myself, Nate.
Thank you, brother. But yeah, I think that'll about do it here for the ranting and raving on Balin's Skull Mercenary. Again, this video also applies to Shin Hati Arcana.
Yep.
Both figures bad. Both versions of the figures bad. A cloak doesn't fix the problems that were plaguing these figures. And ultimately, this release, the Mercenary release, is an absolute scumbag, deceptive business practice that we personally heavily disagree with, are offended by, shocked, appalled, disappointed. I don't know how many other terms I could use to describe how we were feeling with Balin and Shin, especially because they were awesome characters too.
Yeah.
I think that also makes it sting.
Facts.
They were good characters and you butchered the figures. So, yeah. Ranting aside, what do you guys think of Balin's Skull Mercenary? Did you pick it up for full price? Did you pick it up for $8.81? Are we going to pick up IG-12 for $9.62?
Hell no.
That's right. I'm still leaving that on the shelf, baby.
It's 2025. It's time to stop buying figures just because they're on clearance. It's time to stop buying figures just because they look cool, but it's from a moment or show that you didn't like. It's time to lock in.
Okay, I disagree with some of those points, but I generally agree with what he's saying. I generally agree with it. Buying figures because they're cool is fun, though. I'm Nate. I'm joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And we will see you all next time on Out of the Basement. Breaker 909er, Houston. This is ground control Nate. To pilot Justin. We are clear for launch. Clear for launch on the Balin Skull Mercenary. Clear for launch on that.
Copy that. Copy that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Send it. The best part is I have two, so send it back.
Holy shit! Jesus!
Okay, that was a little nerve-wracking. I did not mean to hit